Hey guys, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day, whether y'all are watching this in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening. I'm glad y'all are here. Real quick shout out and thank you to all the channel members. Thank you all so much. Thank you to anyone who takes the time to subscribe, and thank you for anyone who just comes in to watch my knife, my ADC content. I really appreciate it. Today's video is a little bit different, and what it's kind of come from is there was a time when I first got into collecting that all I liked was a traditional flipper knife. That's the way I like to deploy knives. I didn't have the reverse flick yet, and I thought it was great. Well, as I kind of eased into my knife collecting, first year and a half, I kind of drifted away from the rear flippers. Got rid of a lot, quit buying a lot if they were just flipper only. Until some knives came out that really got my attention. So what I thought I'd do is show you, and this one doesn't really count, the Kunwu Big Tao, because it does have the front flipper too, but I never use front flippers. And this one is an older knife that has a great flipper tab. Kind of like my Nimbles, even though they have multiple deployments. But I wanted to show y'all first the ones that stayed in my collection, and that I now carry more, that are flipper onlys, that didn't get traded off. And then the ones that kind of brought back to me. I guess this is a keep an open mind type of video, because your likes and dislikes will change. Things happen. Keep an open mind. Because I love and seek out flipper only knives now, because I really enjoy them. I enjoy the hidden blade. Kunwu Tao, not a great example. For me it is, kind of like the next one I'm going to show you, because the when I first got this Hinderer half track, I could not get the middle finger flick, and I still can't get it 100% of the time. It's not really set up for the middle finger flick, although I've gotten to where I can get it, but it's a fantastic flipper knife. So for the first 6 months that I had this knife, and still, when I pull it out of my pocket, I'd rarely or middle finger flick it because the flipper tab works so well. This is a little bit different and a little bit more of a throwback to kind of a more pocket pecker. We'll see a few of those in here, but I don't find any of them obtrusive because I grew up with pocket pickers, right? In the knife game at least. But this is one that's kind of a cheat because you can middle finger flick it if you've got swagger and dexterity like I do. This should probably get me cut. It didn't. But we'll move on and we'll go to a knife that I picked up probably in the end of the first year, maybe beginning of the second year of my collecting, before drop went away, and they still had a lot of their knives before Kaviso took it over, or however that happened, and they had a lot of their knives that were for sale on Amazon. And this knife, which is a Brad Zinker Dogtooth, which I just love the look of it all along. They had it also in a full titanium model that had some speed holes in it. It might be available at Kaviso's site. I'll check when I put this video up, and I'll link it if I can find it somewhere. But this knife, I don't know who the OEM is. It's designed by Brad Zinker. It's in simple S35 VN, which is perfect for me. It's got this wonderful Wharncliffe blade with this compound grind. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each one of these knives because I want this to kind of be a quick video, but I will show you that it's super slicey, even though I'm not a good slicer. It is slicey, it is pokey, and I figured the other thing I do, instead of measure these knives, we'll just do this is how big it is next to a Benchmade. So the Zinker Dogtooth is a thinner, to me it was always kind of a gentleman's folder because it's titanium liners, carbon fiber handle, the blade is almost completely hidden in the handle. It's great for opening packages, great for opening cat food. Fantastic knife, and I think I picked this up for around 149 bucks when I got it. I can't remember exactly, but I was glad to get it. I'll put a link if I can find it. Before that knife, this is probably one of the first, before I really knew what I was getting into, high-end knife that had kind of caught my attention, because again, this is kind of what I liked when I first got into collecting knives, watching videos, and then this is a knife design that really spoke to me. I don't carry it a lot, but it's not one that I've ever put up for sale. This is the Arcform Slimfoot, and this comes out in various configurations. They do some automatics that I think ProTech did for them, and the one I liked was this flipper version. This is a knife I got, I want to say I bought this at Knife Works back when I was doing business with them still. Nice back spacer, OEM by Riot. Nice little touch of micarta there, titanium. Really nice, thick M390 sheep's foot blade. So this knife has got a much thicker grind, but it's much slicier. Again, the geometry is not as good as some of the others, but it really, really has held an edge. Has fantastic action. Centers up just perfectly. Is a joy to deploy. That rhymed. A joy to deploy. Whether I light switch it, which it's kind of set up for in the jimping, but I can also push button it. When the jimping welcomes me that much, and it does go around the side, because this is what I would call kind of a low profile pocket pecker trade-off, where they're, you know, it's not that much smaller than a pocket pecker, and it's a little bit larger than a low profile, but it works well. So we're going to compare that. It's going to be a little bit longer than our Benchmade bug out. I'm sure it'll be smaller than our Paramilitary 2, but just a nice full-size knife with nice materials, OEM by Riot. One of the first, what I would consider premium knives that I purchased, imported premium knife, and it's one that even though when I went out of my, I'm not a rear flipper guy, because you can't flick this from the fuller, no matter how hard you try. I really love this knife, and I didn't let it go because it meant that much to me. So moving on, we come to, I had several of these that I could have shown because I've given away a lot of Finches on Friday Night Flicks, but I've kept a lot of Finches. There's some Finches that are kind of going to be with me for a while that I really, really like. This Doc Holliday is one of them. I wanted to show it because I think it kind of not only shows how that flipper tab got me kind of back into the game when I started collecting Finches, but I like the way the blade is pretty much concealed in that handle. You've got really nice 154 cm blade. I could have shown several different Finches. I really like the ones that have the bolster lock. This guy is an absolute slicer. Great gentleman's folder. Great nostalgia knife. Has a good pocket clip that works well for me. That's why I picked this one out. Nice materials. Gets re-released a lot with different handle materials. And I don't talk enough about Finch. I probably need to do a collection dive on what's still left in my Finch collection, what I haven't given away. But they're great knives. It is going to be right around the same size as the bug out. It's a flipper only, but it's a very, very enjoyable flipper for me. So moving on, when I did a short on this today, Brother Paul Mills thought that this was an old, rare Spyderco. And it is a little bit old. It might be a little bit rare, but they're still very, very available. This is a Taichung, Taiwan Spyderco Ikushi. You can tell it's a Spyderco because it's got a Spidey hole, right? It is, I'll put an affiliate link to Amazon where this thing's, I want to say 140, 160 bucks, which is about, I think I paid like 199 for it when I got it. It's simple S30V, but it's got this, if you ever do Apache cases and cut your foam out, your pluck and pull foam, this is my pluck and pull foam cutting knife. Compression lock. I think Taichung, Taiwan, they made my smock, they made my Sage 5, I think. Not Sage 5. Yeah, Sage 5. They made my Y2. The only thing I don't like is the carbon fibery G10. It works very well. I'm just not crazy about the look. But this knife, guys, is an absolute winner. It's very unique. It was a quintessential gentleman's knife when I was working full-time down at my corporate job, because when I put it in my pocket, it was fully deep carry. It didn't look like a knife, right? I mean, you don't see a blade or anything. You've got this little jimped wheel, which is just like a flipper tab. And then you've got that little blade. And this is a larger knife too. It's going to be shorter than the PM2, but it is going to be about a ½ inch, a little bit less than a ½ inch longer than the bug out. Super light, super cool. I can highly recommend it. I love it. Flipper only, Spyderco Ikushi. Moving on. This is when I took on a live stream with Pocket Metal and ENG EDC, and this knife was on sale at Blade HQ. It's a Blade HQ exclusive called the, I'll forget it now, the Dapper. This is called the Dapper, the Vox Dapper. I think of this as a giant mouse knife, even though it's not. It's a Blade HQ exclusive. It is an M390 made in Italy. I don't know whose logo that is, but ENG was telling me that it is fidgety, has a great action. I wasn't interested in it at the time because that's when I was in my flipper only, but he kept talking about it. He had one on the show. These things came down on sale for, I want to say, $119. And this is the same color of a good many of my giant mouses. So I picked it up on just Ian's recommendation. And it's a great fifth pocket knife. It carries like a dream. Again, you've got that blade all the way in the handle. You've got a nice wire clip, micarta handles. You've got jimping to where I can push button it. I can light switch it. The detent is dialed, is snappy as you would ever want. And this little drop point belly, it's kind of showing off its belly, its little pot belly, is a great little skinner, a great little cutter, a great little EDC knife, whether it's your primary gentleman's folder, gentleman's carry, or if it's a fifth pocket knife, because it does kind of fit that fifth pocket size. Just to give you an idea, we'll break out our bug out, and since this is a little guy, I'll throw up this Avivi Baby Banter, so you can see it's a little bigger than the Baby Banter, but still in that small knife, I would call it range. Would we call it the small knife range? Anyway, we'll move on because I'm going way too long and I've got a few more knives to show you. Several more. This is the one, guys, that made me say, okay, I've got to really start looking at these knives. So these next few knives were all purchased back when I was buying knives, probably within a 2-month period of each other, because I had what I would call my flipper resurgence. The first one was, because of the design of this knife, this is the Mr.Mr.Cipher. This is the Tonto version. I'd heard good things about this knife. It comes with carbon fiber. I really liked it, but then Miha on their site, which is Mr.Mr., sold these titanium handles in either black or in raw, and I picked up a set. They were like 70 bucks, and I figured I'd deck it out because I really enjoy carrying this knife. This knife's about the same size as my TRM Atom. It's OEM by Bestech. It's super thin. The Cipher is kind of an American Tanto, which is what I wanted. However, this knife is also available in a Cipher D, which is the drop point version. So if you're not a Tonto guy, but you still like thin, slicey, nice, well-priced knives, I want to say this knife is somewhere right around the $200 range, maybe a little bit more, in M390 carbon fiber. Really cool the way they did the pocket clip, putting it behind the scale. It tricked me the first few times that I took it apart, but you can go find some of those videos and watch me struggle through it so you don't have to. Perfectly centered, very thin, carries almost invisibly, and is plenty of knife. I call this a full-size knife. So we put it up next to our bug out. You can see it's a good bit smaller. So it's pretty close, encroaching on our Spyderco Paramilitary 2 size. However, it is very thin, contoured handles, rides in and out of your pocket very well. Super low profile flipper tab that works amazingly. So much so that I reached out and I was having some trouble. I was getting ready to purchase a Cipher D, the drop point. Then I started figuring, because Mihai kind of talked me out of it. He said, you know, you could have two, but they're pretty much the same knife. He goes, you ought to check out the Zero. I'd seen this. His dad designed this knife. He designed the Cipher. Their dad and son design team, both really nice people. I've had the pleasure of talking to him, of meeting him. But this is the minimalistic knife his dad designed that I first saw on Lefty's channel. And it's called the Zero. So you'll notice there's no hardware on this knife. You've got a pivot and you've got a body screw. This knife is so sexily simple that after talking to Mila, I bought this one instead of buying the Cipher D, and I'm glad I did. You'll notice you don't have any jimping. I almost used to say that I would like to have seen jimping here, but I actually think it was done, I was told, because of the design of it being simple, understated, and a zero. You don't need it. Your finger can get that whether you push button it or whether you light switch it. That corner's taken away. You could have wet, sweaty hands, and you're not going to have any problem deploying that. And I think keeping that look absolutely clean is one of the really, I think, nice things about this knife. Plus, it's extremely slicey, kind of falls in that gentleman range. You've got a wire clip. It's also available in raw. Both of these, I think, are available in raw or black. M390 blade. I should probably get some fresh paper just so you can see how truly slicey these knives are. Whoops. I hit the choil. But this is what I would call understated elegant, a plunge lock that gets it done, a simple knife that is simple only in its design and in its elegance. It really shines in its engineering and its balance. I love it. It is a flipper only. I picked this up probably a week or two after I picked up my first Mr.Mr. And I really wanted to get a Phantom, but I haven't been able to pull it together for one because my situation changed a little bit. But the Phantom's another knife they came out with, which I was lucky enough to review. Great knife. Mr.Mr. Designs, check them out. They are doing it right. Next, we come to a Jim Skelton design that my buddy A to Z picked up, fell in love with. I never got it. I never really understood it. I didn't love the look of it closed because it looks like a parrot. I didn't really like the flipper tab, even though it's brilliant. Well, when my buddy A to Z's came in and he showed it off to me, I realized what it was about. So this knife is probably not just the smoothest flipper, one of the smoothest, glassiest knife that feels high quality of any knife in my collection. This is right up there with any knife in my collection. I mean, there's just, I think this is perfection, even though some of the stylistic elements initially threw me off, and I'm sure it'll throw some of you guys off, because to me it looks like a fucking parrot, but that's okay, because it's a beautiful spear point S90V, comes in a lot of different configurations with frag, full tie, different carbon fiber. This was weird, so I opted for it. S90V, Skelton Blade Works on that side. You've got a very minimalistic Tuya logo on that side. Wonderful, wonderful release on that lock bar. You're jimping, and then just absolutely flies into action, falls shut like a champ. I don't know if I cut with this one yet, but it is an absolute slicer, and it's a Slurpee saver, and it's like a get serious Slurpee saver. That's the one thing I learned about this parrot beak, is it locks your hand in. So this is, I would consider it a tactical folder. But again, very minimalistic, flipper only, a joy to fidget with. Guys, this video is going too long. I apologize. I wanted to keep it under 10. I'm about to go over 20, but you'll see this is PM2 size. Full-size knife on the Calidan. We will move on, and we have two more knives to look at. This knife I would have never picked up even though I was back into my flipper tab. I'd always been interested in it, but it was a $310 knife, and I've got several quiet carries, and this was one of the early ones. However, this is the IQ large, or the large IQ. I forget how it was marketed, but it's not, the IQ was one of their first knives. This is the large version. The reason I bought this is it's a $310 knife. When I was searching around Black Friday, when I was still employed and had plenty of disposable income, these showed up on Quiet Carry's site for $148. So they were like half off. And they had this and the raw tie, and I figured, hell, I can't pass it up. I've got several other Quiet Carries that I really like. This design never really just jumped out and screamed at me, but I always appreciated it for its uniqueness, and it's just kind of simple, elegant, functional. This one's not in Vanex. This one's in M390 and titanium, but it is, even though the blade geometry does not look like it would be super slicey, like all of my Quiet Carries, like my Drift, like my 9, like my Waypoint. Guys, these things are from the factory, slicey sharp. I put skiffs in this one, perfectly centered, perfectly just balanced, laid out right, feels good. I saw something on the tip of that knife that I'm going to get that muck off there. I really enjoy my KPL restoration knife. But this is the Quiet Carry IQ large. Love this knife. Probably wouldn't have bought it for $300, but at $148, I couldn't pass it up. The push button on it is banging. The light switch is banging. The detent is dialed. A little tight or a little heavy, but that's what I like. I prefer a heavy detent. That's just me. And then we look at it next to our bug out, and we'll see that it's a good bit larger size knife, a little bit smaller than the Para 2, a good bit, but it's going to be larger than the bug out, but in that same range. Pocket clip works great. Titanium, I think a fantastic gentleman's folder. Which brings us to the last knife of the night, and I did a review on this knife not too long ago. This is an AM8 by Miguron that Sam Liu and I talk, and he was nice enough to send me this knife out to review. It's the Kirmu. He asked if I'd be interested in it, said it was a flipper only, and I said I would love to check it out because I've kind of had a resurgence in flipper only knives. And this knife brings what I love about flipper only knives, low blade exposure. Really nice titanium, diamond milled handles with this beautiful, I want to call it kind of a silver carbon fiber maybe, but it's perfectly laid in there flush. And I took the clip off the other day just to look at this, T8s all the way around, but this is actually a single piece of that carbon fiber. So yeah, it's not exactly going to be symmetrical, but I know a lot of people have problems with that. I don't. I personally think they handled it really well. This clip is one of the best clips, or definitely the best clip I've seen on a Miguron AM8. I love it. I think they're going in the right direction there. And then the star of the show is the blade, but the balance of this knife, the flipper tab, you've got light switch is where it's asking you to go, but it gives you the push button. I just hit the mat. That was not a fail. That was me hitting the mat. The push button is money. So if you want to just come at it straight, bang, push button. If you want to light switch it, it light switches like nobody's business. What I love about this knife, the blade to handle ratio. I love this deep compound hollow ground M390 blade with just enough belly here on the front. And this, guys, is super deep. Thickens up here at the tip to give you a little bit more piercing. Great jimping right here where you need it. You can choke up for detail cuts, but I think this is going to be your primary grip. It's got a really nice sharpening choil, has a nice back spacer. And this knife, I'll try to link it if it's still at Amazon. I want to say it was like $148 in M390 titanium by AM8, which is Miguron. Y'all make no mistake, it's Sam Liu. Miguron knives, AM8. I had and gave away, one of you guys or gals won my Gladiator Gen 1, which was a fantastic AM8 made knife. And then the first AM8 I had after watching Lefty's review was the Flicks. The Flicks is the one that had the flipper hole, not all the way through the knife, but it was on the middle finger side. And I really like that knife. Lefty referred to it as the fish stick because of the jimping up around the, or not the jimping, the milling around the bolster. And then I think the little pony stout, the high-end pony stout had that same jimping. I had to fuck with him about that. But no, guys, this is kind of me talking about, keep your mind open. These are some, and my remaining in my collection, flipper-only knives that I absolutely love. They won't be my last, because when I see flipper-only knives, especially some of the newer designs, if the design strikes me as being appealing, something I'd like that fills a void in my collection, and I'm in the position where I could make that type of decision comfortably, I would definitely not be opposed to flipper-only knives, which not too long before, that would have kind of been something that forced me to look over some really good knives, because I picked up a lot of these late to the party. And so I share this video with you to tell you to go with the flow. Your knife game is your knife game. It's nobody else's knife game. Do what you enjoy. I would just recommend, as a friend and as somebody who's seen a lot of different changes in his collecting, i.e. mine, and it's not something that I necessarily expected, I've really enjoyed things that I never thought I wanted to look at. That's the bottom line. And I don't want you guys to miss out or wait as long as I did to have that kind of stuff, you know, give you a chance to check it out. But guys, I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you found this video entertaining, informative, eye-opening, boring. If you found it boring, you can give me a thumbs down. If you're so inclined and you're still here and you haven't had a chance yet, please hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon. But most importantly, please look out for that guy or gal to your left. Please look out for the guy or gal to your right. Please look out for each other. Go forward with love in your heart. Choose debate, not hate. I love you all. Peace.